Don't forget to stick around through the end of the video for information on our Arrive Serpentor Arrive giveaway. If you were to ask just about anyone what comic series is the most influential Batman story ever told, it's likely you will often hear The Dark Knight Returns, a miniseries brought to us from the legendary writing talents of Frank Miller that changed the way the world viewed Batman from a campy, light-hearted hero to a dark, brooding, violent hero focused on vengeance. In this tale, Bruce Wayne is an aging 55-year-old man who, after Jason Todd's death, walked away from the Batman mantle, the Batmantle. After seeing the increased violence and terror brought by the gang called the Mutants, Bruce feels no choice but to take the role again, to don the cape and cowl, to make the Dark Knight return. Through this tale, we see a new Robin appear, the first female in the role of Robin, Carrie Kelly, who picks up a Robin costume and hunts down Batman to join him, as he inspired Carrie to join the fight after saving her and a friend from the Mutants. After Batman topples the leader of the Mutants in a brutal, violent battle, some of the now leaderless gang members begin to follow Batman, calling themselves the Sons of Batman. All of these events unfolding and new accusations rising got the attention of Superman, who ultimately tries to reason with Bruce, but Bruce meets Superman in a massive exosuit that gives Batman the ability to fight Superman with better odds, a more even ground. Though the suit did help create an interesting battle and a timeless moment in comics, Superman is able to compromise the suit's integrity, only to be weakened by a kryptonite arrow that gives Batman the ability to rise again. Who walks away from one of the greatest battles of all time? Will the Man of Steel be able to stop the world's greatest detective? We don't want to spoil anything here, so check out the 1986 comic series, or even the two-part animated adaptation from 2012 and 2013. You won't be disappointed. The story may be over and encapsulated in a miniseries, but fans and collectors can keep the joy and experience alive, especially with the latest Superman release from Mafex line with Medicom. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collects, and remember, I'll be posting new videos almost every day as great new ads arrive. Now, if that sounds of interest to you, please click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Every single subscription truly does mean a lot to me personally. And in this episode, we are taking a closer look at the Medicom Mafex The Dark Knight Returns Superman. Alright, hey everyone, welcome back, and here it is, the Dark Knight Returns Superman from Batman. Okay, yeah, so very cool, very excited to have this. It's yet another Superman added to the collection, so if you've seen videos before, you know that I'm a big Superman fan, always a sucker for it, and this one is just cool, right? But here on the back, we've got the normal renderings, or, I'm really never sure with these, whether it's a rendering or a picture of the figure. I'm going to say, by looking at the cape, it's probably a rendering, because I imagine it's cloth goods and it looks kind of drawn. But anyway, the little checklist of everything that comes in it, typical back, and then on the side, old Soups, Clark flying through the air, and then we've got a nice power pose going on there, and good old Medicom toy going on, and then just that ever so shiny, reflective plastic presentation that we got there. And look at that, just hit in the face with that kryptonite. Oh man, that just looks painful. But you know what? Let's look more closely at the actual face and actual figure instead of playing around with the packaging. All right, so let's get that cut open. There's our little hologram down there. Well, I remember when holograms like that were really popular. I mean, they came in all these card packs. It was everywhere. Everywhere a hologram could be included, it was done. Neat background. I like that, right? So like the very gothic building for Gotham. And then there's the Bat logo with that art style from Frank Miller, that legendary, easily identifiable art style. So very cool. And then there's our typical stand with a little pamphlet like we've seen before, certifying a genuine product. Yep, so all right, always good to know that it is genuine. Let's pull this top tray off. Nothing else underneath, as is the typical presentation and layout of this. So nothing on this top tray, just a protection to keep everything in the packaging, because nothing is really stuck down with tape or anything. But let's pull it all out. So we got our Soup's face, we got Ollie's arrow, and we have 4 extra sets of hands. So all kinds of fun little Superman hand poses to do here. And let's pull out Old Superman himself. So there we go, another empty tray. I'm gonna set that to the side. And let's take a look at these items that we've got. All right, so first and foremost, let's go through the hands, right? So several different versions, right? So this one's kind of a bit of a neutral hand came with it that we normally see. And that same basic detail of the sculpting, right? So they don't really go too heavily into like the hand detail to still kind of keep that comic appearance, but also have, you know, a pretty good quality to it, right? See, there's not too much of the detail that a hand's gonna have. Like sometimes we'll even see on, you know, Marvel Legends or McFarlane toys, things like that. But you know, it's not enough to detract it, right? And with this art style, it just kind of works with it because it's kind of a little bit more bulkier, a little bit more, I don't want to say soft, but just puffy. Am I thinking the right terms? I don't know. If you can think of a better term, please throw it in the comments. I would love to think. Here's a nice fisted hand, right? So good. But this one has an opening in it for the arrow, right? So we do have another fist that's currently on Superman there, but then we got the one that has the hole for the arrow. So either side can have a grip on that. And we have an open hand, right? So you're saying stop, or you know, doing all kinds of little Superman type poses. This looks very narrow, the back of the hand, or very shallow, I should say. I mean, I guess they're all that way, but that one just for some reason kind of stands out a little bit more. And then last, for the extra hands, we've got the good old Superman ninja chop, or you know, the flight thing going on there, whichever one you want it to be. I think a good Superman ninja chop is always a good one, but this one has a little bit more of the hand, the lines, right, sculpted into it. You can see the separation at the bends, the knuckles. So, you know, it's neat to see a little bit more in there where they had, I guess, a little bit more room to play. This kind of has a little bit of indentations, but not really the lines. Okay. And speaking of Ollie's arrow, there we go. Pretty simple, right? A little bit of a bow to mine, huh? No pun intended. But I mean, just the presentation of it looks fantastic. And I'm assuming something, yes, there we go. So the Kryptonite, which is a vibrant green. Can you see that? That's a very neon green going on there, which I am a fan of neon colors. I'm always happy to see those because they're nice and bright. And Kryptonite should just have that look to it. But there's our arrow, slides off very easily in that whitish, almost like it's got a little bit of a gray to it color going on there. And then we've got the arrow, the feathering, there's a name for it, I can't think of it right now, on the back. I appreciate that it is uneven, right? So none of them are the same, and then it kind of goes up and down as it goes through. Like it almost looks like this one and this one are the same, but then it seems like there's just enough of a subtlety where they may not be. But either way, it looks pretty cool. You can definitely tell that one's not the same. So I mean, just good quality to it. The paint work on that is very well applied. There's a tiny little bit, really close, where it's a little bit onto the arrow right there, but you know what? Again, that is one of those you got to look very close to spot it. And we'll put the Kryptonite back on there, which is painted in that vibrant green, and I am just a fan of that. And it sticks on very tightly. You got to kind of pull it. I was a little uncertain at first, but if they hadn't given the hand, I probably would have thought, okay, maybe it doesn't come off, but it was quite obvious that it does. And then here is our Kryptonite damaged face. You know, that just, gosh, that looks painful. Look at that burn. I mean, they did a fantastic job at sculpting that grimace of feeling like he's burnt, like the mouth is uneven, right? So it's down a little bit because of the pain, the inability to kind of open it as much as you normally would because it hurts. So it goes down a little bit. The separation of the teeth is nice, not overly done. And I mean, just the sculpting and the painting on the mouth itself is really good. The eye, I will say, because this one is closed, but still looking good because of the way that it is closed. Just a very thin black line, but it does open up and spread out where it needs to and kind of narrows out. The hair, I'm just a fan of this, right? So that super curl that this Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns Superman always has, right? I mean, it is very, I would say very slick, but no, I just dropped it. It is very much drawn out and exaggerated for this one, but I love it. There's just something about it, right? And it's good. Like the hair is very well sculpted. It's in this kind of, it's a dark color, but it's almost got like a bluish hue to it. Almost, it's like they snuck a little bit of blue in there just to kind of give it some slight highlights to it. But yeah, I would say from looking at it, great job. There's a little bit of black coming down on the ear right there. But, you know, other than that, the hairline is very, very comic book, I guess, right? So there's not a lot of potential separation or like individual hairs drawn in there. So it does have a very clean look to it. You can kind of see where it almost missed, right? It looks like there's a little bit more black that could have gone before it joins the face, before, you know, where the face paint could have stopped. See, it just kind of has a little bit of a line that happens, but not enough to really take away. All right, so let's move on to the guy himself. Very excited about this, and as always, there is a ton of plastic in here, so the removal process is always fun. Some of these I just kind of pull because they do pop and eventually do break and let me pull it out. I just think it's, for me, I feel more comfortable than trying to separate the pieces of the body. So, I mean, we've got up here, we've got right there, just really protecting all the moving parts of this so that I get to be the one who accidentally causes paint to scrape off or to rub or something like that. So, and then this one around the neck area, just a tiny little bit, just did not want to come. There we go. That was very satisfying. You know, there's a big thick piece in between him and the cape. And then it looks like our last ones are here at the upper thigh area, and they just come right out. So they are split right there towards the back. Okay, so now that we got him free, let's take a look at this old face right here. And then there he is, unwounded, unfazed, and the hair is even more exaggerated because the curl is just flying out, right? So he's not like mid-fight where he's been sweaty and it's fallen down on his face and he took a Kryptonite arrow gas to the face. So he's ready, fresh for the battle, just dropped in, and that I mean, there's just something awesome about that. It's so over the top, so exaggerated. But the hair sculpted the same way, still has that kind of bluish gray hue to it, which really just kind of sets it out a little bit more, makes it pop. And then the face sculpting, the closed mouth, you know, definitely has a serious look on his face, but you know, not too much. It's kind of like the dude, just knock it off look on his face, right? And the eyes very well painted. So I mean, just from looking at this, the paint on this is fantastic, as to be expected with Medicom's Mafex line. And it looks like even with the hairline, it was executed a little bit better, right? So you can see it kind of goes up above the ear, where we had some that kind of came down on the ear a little bit. And it looks like even on this side, the line that we saw on this one doesn't really seem to happen. See where there's that little bit that goes up. This is a little bit tighter and cleaner. Let's remove him. Can you catch up? There we go. So yeah, it's a little bit tighter and cleaner. Anyway, you get the point. Let's check out some movement. So we got the neck is separate from the torso. And then, so side to side, pretty decent, like the head doing it on its own. If we bring the neck in, you know, or not concerned about bringing the neck in, it definitely has a lot of movement in there. Up and down, very good, right? Very far beyond the looking at the horizon, and then downward, we got full on chin to chest on that. And I feel very confident that yes, we do have full exorcist rotation. All right, I'm loving it. Okay, and then, I mean, that neck is massive, but it does allow a lot of freedom just by the way that this is, looks like we got a dumbbell, yeah, up there. If you tilt it to the side too much, obviously we got a bit of a gap happening, but I mean, I think he's got more problems if he's leaning over quite that heavily. So just from normal, you can, like, even tilting it like that, it does have a little bit of a gap on the side. So just be mindful of that for posing purposes and all that jazz. Butterfly joint in the shoulder, very well done. And you can see there's even musculature sculpted into it. As it reveals more, you get to see more of the musculature pop through. So that is an excellent detail. I am very happy to see that. A lot of times it's just that olive-shaped piece of plastic in there, and that's it. What shows, you know, yeah, it is the same color that it's supposed to be, but not really that kind of extra detail. Good rotation on the shoulder. Bicep, tricep, excellent rotation all the way around, and this one does have the rounded, very pumpkin shoulder going on there, and then the bicep and tricep have the curves for the musculature, but it does not hinder the rotation, and we've got a double elbow right there, but this is where musculature hinders because he goes just a little bit, maybe beyond 90 degrees on that. But that's to be expected when you got massive super guns, Kryptonian guns like that. Okay, and then the wrist does have full rotation. Nothing on the forearm, but wrist has complete wiggle capability, right? So you can go kind of like, depending on how you have this joint rotated, you can have up, down, forward, and backwards, right? And this is our fist without the opening for the arrow. And then, of course, the other side has that same capability, same fist, and same movement. And then here we've got mid-torso, booyah. So this has, it's not the just straight forward and backwards, this has full movement. I will say that it does feel a little bit hindered in some directions. Oddly enough, it moves a lot to my left, to his right, but then trying to go, there we go. So you definitely have to get the joint up in there to shift with it to get it to go. You actually kind of feel it as it shifts. Otherwise, it won't want to go. So it's kind of like a there we go. See, it's like you lift up and you can't, oh, nobody saw that. Nothing to see here, okay? So, you know, be careful where the leverage is being placed. So I would definitely hold on to the abdomen. But yeah, once you feel, what I'm assuming is probably a dumbbell joint in there, once you feel it kind of come along and shift with it, then you definitely have a lot more movement. But all in all, the movement in there is great. And we have a little bit of a ratchet for rotation on that. So that's very cool. I like that. And then waist rotation, very good, right? So, you know, that typical rotating left and right. But the belt is that soft rubber plastic in yellow, and it kind of flexes pretty well with it. But one thing that I see that's happening here is the shorts are kind of popping up from underneath. So that might be something to keep an eye on and make sure that the belt, yeah, stays on top of it, because it's definitely supposed to be that way. But I think if it flexes enough in the right way, it can pop up over it like it's trying to do again. Not enough to really be an issue. It's not like the belt is floating around or all over the body, but that's just something that we see can happen. No upper thigh rotation, but good rotation just at the joint in general. I mean, look at that. That's pretty good. And I actually appreciate this, even though you don't have full rotation, because this is a more natural style, right? And you don't have that line right there just to be able to get that. So this doesn't break for the sake of this being able to do that. And then, I mean, you can still kick upwards. And, you know, it does a lot more of a, we'll say, natural human rotation. Back, not too bad. The knee will take over for some of that. And then we do have, like I said, a double knee and that pretty good flexibility there. Double pinless knee, of course, but, you know, Mafex. And then there is no calf rotation, though, but we do have good rotation with the foot because it's got that double pinned joint in there. Now we do have an ankle coming down over here, which is kind of, it seems like it's kind of typical with a lot of these Mafex toys, but the inner one is not. So you can still, if you get this joint to rotate, you can still get the old ankle breaking to the inside. And then, of course, we have good old toe rotation, or toe articulation, I mean. Forward and backward is okay. The forward, not so great. It doesn't move very much. Backward is decent, but it does, the top of the shoe part hits the top of the boot, and that kind of hinders it. But the other side does have that same capability all the way up and down, same rotation, forward and backwards and all that jazz. So there we go. All right, so let's look at, fortunately, there's not a lot of paint apps to look at. We got a big S, and from what I can tell, that S looks great, looks fantastic. And we don't really have anything, any kind of joints or anything rubbing on here, even though that the chest does look like it's separated. It is, it's a completely separate piece of plastic that's attached on to hold the cape. Oh, that's very neat, right? So they built this city on rock and roll, but no, they built this underneath piece, and then the chest lays on top to hold the cape in place. I think that is absolutely brilliant because they did have the freedom based on the art style to pull the attachment all the way down there. So very cool. And then the S, again, is very well applied. I don't really see any issues with it. No, I was going to say maybe, but no, I can't find anything. Okay, so moving on. That's really it for paint. I mean, we saw the yellow and the red on it. You know, everything looks okay. There's not really anything that's horribly obvious. This trying to tuck beneath the cast rubbery red plastic shorts is, you know, it's unfortunate. It's something to keep an eye on, but not a deal breaker. And everything looks pretty good. All in all, even what I will say though is the red paint doesn't match the red casts, right? So we got red cast foot and then the red top up here. They don't quite match. Now there is some darker red infused in here that kind of helps make it match, but you can just tell that the plastic doesn't match the paint, and I mean even here it doesn't quite match, but it's not enough to really draw away. That's again looking very close, as you can see. I do appreciate though that they included a darker red. Kind of, it's almost like they knew. So, you know, let's make it blend a little bit better. Let's also make it not look like it's just plain old cast plastic. Okay, last but not least, let's take a look at the old cape, which is soft goods and wired, which I'm always a fan of both of those. Now, it is a bit wrinkly, but it's also a thicker material, right? I feel like usually it's kind of like a satiny material, but this is definitely a bit thicker. I don't want to say it's canvas, but it is you can kind of tell it's very a much harder, stiffer material, which is good for like posing and stuff. And the wire feels very substantial, and I will say it feels a bit more substantial than some of the other ones, even with Mafex that I've messed with or had the pleasure of trying to pose. But I mean, there you go. You can see that it definitely, he's got like the Leonardo da Vinci glider thing going on now. But then if we just put like some little dimples in here and see how it behaves, it seems like it takes everything that we give it very easily. See, I mean, it doesn't try and lose what I just made it do every single time, no matter how silly it is. So that, I'm gonna have to say, that is an excellently executed cape. I know that might sound silly to be excited about that, but I think, I mean, if you've experienced a lot of these, you know what I mean, right? Some of them you can bend the wire and you can try and position it, but it just doesn't want to stay. Gravity will pull it down, but gravity is definitely not winning on this one. It took everything that I did with it, and he stands up very easily on his own, as you can see, and we'll be right back with some 360s of this guy. Okay, here he is, the Batman The Dark Knight Returns Superman. Let me tell you, at first I was hesitant to pick this one up. I don't know why. I was like, do I need another Superman? Do I need to invest in another Mafex figure? And I am absolutely glad I did. Not just because I'm a big Superman sucker, but seeing this in pictures, it looked cool, but having it in person, it's even cooler. There's just something about it. And normally I'm not a bulky Superman kind of guy. I like the more lean version, but this just works. And the arrow is just fantastic. Let me just say though, it is a tight fit going into that hand, which is good because then it looks like it has a firm grip on it, but it definitely took a little bit of force to get it in there. No issues, nothing that I really think was an opportunity on it. Yet another wonderfully executed Mafex figure. Huge fan of the functionality of that cape and the wire. So if you were thinking about it, if you were on the fence, this one I cannot recommend more. I love it. I'm just excited for it to be a part of my collection. I'm at a loss for words. I'm so excited. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey everyone, we are currently running our Arrive Serpentor Arrive giveaway, where we are giving away one Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Serpentor with Air Chariot. All you have to do is comment on this video to be entered to win. Each video during the giveaway period will have a secret keyword shared within the video, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Because the first person to comment that keyword gets pinned to the top of the comments and gets 2 entries for that video. A special thank you goes out to all of you for making it possible for us to be able to already start giving back. Well, that about does it. Thank you for checking us out and for joining us on this super collecting journey, as always. And remember, we are posting new videos almost daily as new ads and releases come. Now, if we ever do a review of something you are trying to find for yourself, please follow us and DM us on Instagram at JKCollectsToys so we can help with the search if we do not already have a way of getting one. Also, if you got anything out of today's episode and you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe and click that like button so you can stay up to date on any new ones. If you'd like to see some more videos, there are a couple of quick links on your screen for you to check out right now. But no matter what, as always, thank you for taking the time. And collecting or not, we are all in this world together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.